Hey frugal friends, today we're talking about one of those big grocery budget busting categories, fruits and veg. And no, none of my tips this time are gonna be just grow your own because I'm a certified master gardener, but I know that most people aren't. So we're not talking about any gardening stuff today, so let's get to it. All right, number one, don't buy anything pre-cut, pre-washed, pre-sliced, pre-diced, any of those things. Because when grocery stores sell those nice little containers of like watermelon cubes, they have to bake in the cost, how much they needed to pay someone to do the washing and the cutting and the slicing. And that just makes it cost more. They did all the work for you. You pay more because they did that work for you. So if you want to spend less, do that work yourself. Number two, focus on your loss leader sales. If that term is unfamiliar to you, a loss leader sale is just what it sounds like. Grocery store is selling an item at a loss to lead you into the store. So this is basically the very top chunk. If you're gonna pull out an actual flyer, like paper flyer, or if you're looking at the flyer on your app, on your grocery store app, the very top section of that flyer is where the loss leaders are. So all of your budget grocery stores, Walmart, Aldi, they don't generally do loss leaders, and when they do, they're really not that great. So you're gonna focus on the stores that are more expensive. These are the ones that offer loss leader sales. Because these stores are selling certain fruits and vegetables at a loss to themselves, they are great deals for you. So like St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and I haven't seen it yet, but I know that they're going to be having loss leader sales on cabbage. Cabbage usually goes for around like 80 cents a pound, $1 a pound in my area. I can predict that it will go for like 59 cents, maybe like 37 cents a pound in my area. We'll see how low they go, how much they want to lead me into the store. But if you're trying to save money on fruits and vegetables, you can focus on these loss leader sales. As long as you're looking at your gas prices, make sure that you're not wasting crazy amounts of money on gasoline if you've got to drive 40 minutes outside of your little area to pick up 37 cents a pound green cabbage. Don't do that. All right, tip number three, make sure you're storing food properly, because the worst thing in the world is spending your hard-earned money on fruits and vegetables, especially the fresh kind, and then having it all like rot immediately because you didn't store it correctly. I read this advice online as a younger person, and I thought, well, that's fine, it's fine. I don't need to worry about doing all that stuff. Like, it'll be fine. I was shocked the first time I stored my onions and my potatoes separately, how much longer the potatoes lasted. Like weeks and weeks longer because they weren't next to the onions. I'm not a food scientist. I don't know exactly chemically what's going on with your onions and your potatoes and why they can't be best friends, but they can't. Find a new home for each of them. All right, number four, eat seasonal fruits and vegetables. And I had a question on this in my last video on like 50 frugal food hacks. What do I mean by eat produce seasonally? It's tricky. I understand now why there was a question about it. So me, master gardener, I just have kind of a running list in the back of my head about what fruits and vegetables are in season at any given time. But that's because I have like random bits of information stuffed in my brain and I just kind of pull them out when I need to. Everyone else needs to use Google, and Google is not helpful with this question. Here's why. So if you go and you type in how to eat fruits and vegetables seasonally, you just get a couple websites that give you a nice list. It is not a helpful list though. Even like the USDA, if you go to their like SNAP EBT website, they have what they call as a list of seasonal fruits and vegetables. However, things like lemons are in every single season. Lemons are not always in season. There is a time when they're better to eat than others. I understand that California can just produce food like the Garden of Eden, but we're not talking about that. So a better resource, here's where I want you to go. If you go to the Farmer's Almanac website, I'll leave a link in the description. You can go and it will ask you to click on your geographic region. So for me, I click the New England area. And then it'll ask you what season you're in. And so I'm going to say winter. And then it's going to say, sucks to be you, there's like 3 fruits and vegetables that are in season now. So what you need to do is go ahead, click your geographic region, click what season it is, and it will give you a list of all of the foods that are produced locally at that time of year. But this is why you're going to see, at least, for me in the Northeast, I am going to see sales on apples in the fall because that's what time of year it is. I see sales on corn and tomatoes in the summer because that's what season they're grown in. In June, I'm going to see sales on strawberries and go bananas because my kids eat like 40 pounds of strawberries a week if I let them. When you eat fruit or vegetables seasonally, they're fresher, they taste better, and they're cheaper because they had shorter distances to travel. By the way, if this video is being helpful to you, leaving a like does encourage the algorithm to spread it to more people who might really need to know this kind of information, so thank you. Point number 5, sometimes try frozen, canned, or dried versions of fruits and vegetables. We all know about the gold standard that is dried beans. However, frozen vegetables are a huge way of saving money. They're picked when they're the freshest. They have only the parts of the plant that you actually want to eat and not all of the other, if you go and you get a big head of broccoli, you've got all of this is broccoli and all of this is florets. You can go and just buy frozen florets, which is getting exactly what you want and paying a cheaper price for it. And it's going to store in your freezer until you need it. And so it's not going to go to waste because you forgot about it at the bottom of your fridge. This is especially a good tip if you didn't already know this. This is especially a good tip if you're like a single person or it's just you and a spouse. You just can't eat tons and tons of fresh vegetables very quickly. Getting a lot of shelf-stable or freezer-stable varieties is a great way of cutting costs because you're getting less waste. Just make sure you look at the unit price on things, friends. So compare price per pound versus price per pound. And you can do this even in the frozen section. It'll say like the price per pound of the bag of frozen corn. And you can compare that with the price per pound of the corn in the fresh section or the can of corn. How much is that? Based on a lot of different factors. I can't give a blanket statement of which kind is always cheaper, but check. All right, speaking of weighing things, tip number 6, if you're going to the fresh section, the produce section, and you want to buy I have one of them. You want to buy one of these suckers, like a 5-pound bag of potatoes, go to the little scaly things they have hanging, usually near the apples for some reason. I can't hold this is heavy. Go to the scales and weigh a couple different bags because there's no magic that the farmers can come up with to make every single bag exactly 5 pounds. Did you ever think about that? They're not all exactly 5 pounds. They're gonna get close because they don't wanna lose money, but some are gonna be 4.5 pounds, some might be 5.5 pounds. Maybe you'll get lucky and find a 6-pound bag of potatoes that has the 5-pound label on it. 3 pound of potatoes, woohoo! All right, we're getting there. Tip number 7, check if you have an ethnic food store near you. I lived in a town for multiple years before I realized that there was an ethnic food store in it. And the first time I went in, I was amazed at the price of fruits and vegetables in there. When I say ethnic food store, I'm generally talking about stores that cater primarily to Asian clientele, Hispanic clientele, Middle Eastern clientele, African clientele. There's a lot of different ethnicities that have their own little mom and pop, usually food stores. And a lot of the foods that are traditional in, everything that's not the standard American diet, but a lot of more of their traditional foods have a lot more fruits and vegetables in them because those little stores are trying to make those particular customers happy. They tend to have really good prices on things like fruits and vegetables. Even just occasionally, if it's something in season and you think they're gonna have a good price on it, you can just go once or a couple times a year, stock up on a bunch of stuff and chuck it in your freezer, dehydrate it, can it if you're a canner. You can get incredible deals on fruits and vegetables just by checking out ethnic food stores. And speaking of freezers, freeze all the things. What tip is that? What number? I don't know. Freeze it. Freeze it all. This is why we have a chest freezer in the basement, because there are so many times when I've realized, do I have an example in my fridge right now? So right now, I've got some fresh peppers and onions. They're still good. They'll be good for another couple days. But if, say by tomorrow, I'm looking at my list of foods I'm going to be making in the next couple days and think, I'm not going to be using that in the next couple days. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chop these up, stick them in a freezer bag, and chuck them in the freezer before they go bad. That way I've saved them from becoming food waste. They weren't at their peak freshness because I'd already cut and used part of them up, but they're not going to waste. And that is preventing me from buying another entire I don't know, green pepper, half an onion, red pepper, I don't know, at least $4. I'd much rather not waste $4 just by taking a minute and chopping these up and throwing them in a bag in the freezer. Frozen, chopped peppers and onions, I can use that in a million different ways. And that's only when I'm talking about food scraps. You can, of course, be more thoughtful and plan to use your freezer for things instead of just like accidental freezer time. If, like I said, if it's June and all the strawberries are coming out of your ears, and you really want to save a ton of strawberries at their peak freshness, like, oh my gosh, who doesn't want fresh picked strawberries? This video is making me so hungry. You can use your freezer to help preserve all of that freshness and keep your food budget way, way lower. I had this idea as its own separate point. Maybe it's kind of the same as the first point, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. Freeze scraps too. So I don't know if you have this problem in your household, but I have toddlers, and toddlers are known for changing their minds really frequently, or like thinking they're super, super hungry, and then actually they only wanted like 1 or 2 bites of things. So I have a banana bag in my freezer. So when I get my toddler who's so hungry and they need a banana right now, I peel half of it and they'll have a couple bites. And then they're like, actually, Mom, I'm done. I don't need the whole banana. I say, all right, I only peeled half of it. So I cut off anything that their little drooly mouth might have touched. And I'll just save the other half of the banana. This banana bag is pretty empty right now because I made my daughter a smoothie with frozen banana bits last night for snack. And I know bananas are not the most expensive fruit or vegetable on the planet, but every time I'm not wasting half a banana, I definitely feel better about it. Oh, I should put these away so they're not... Wouldn't it be awful to have food waste while trying to make a video about reducing your food waste? Last point, I promise this doesn't require you to grow your own food, but it kind of requires you to know someone who does. Make friends with gardeners, or alternatively, make friends with people who have random things like fruit trees or berry bushes on their property. I got a really nice comment in the comments of that video on frugal food hacks who was suggesting exactly this. She said that what she does is she will go up to her neighbors' houses when she sees that they have fruit trees that are in season and say, hey, how you doing? Gonna use all those apples? Gardeners always have surplus fruits and vegetables, and most of the time, especially if you're kind in the way you ask, or really if you're gonna like offer to like help them weed or something, gardeners tend to be a very generous bunch. So that's it. Those are my like 10, 11, 9, some number of tips on how to save money on fruits and vegetables. If you have any others, please leave them in the comments because that's always the most useful part of these videos anyway, right? It's just reading what other people are talking about and all of their great ideas because I am just one lady. So thank you very much. See you next week. Maybe. Depends on when you come. Bye, YouTube. Big dump truck. Whoa, distraction.